Thank you so very much for staying with Facing the Nation. Of course, now it's time for the second half of our program again. Thank you very much to the Minister of Social Protection, the Honorable Amna Ali, for being here. Now we are going to talk to a first-timer. It's his first time on Facing the Nation, yes. And I trust that it won't be the last. I'm hoping that he will be back. This is a person that he might be a stranger to Facing the Nation, but he's no stranger to Guyana. You hear him on the radio all the time. Last year during the campaign for local government elections, leading up to that, and even after that, you've been seeing him. Actually, I can tell you what really caught my eye is maybe about a week or two ago, some stuff was posted on social media about some of his achievements as a councillor, and it was really impressive. I find it really impressive, especially as he calls himself this, so it's not an insult, a newcomer to politics. So, and I found that it was really, really impressive that he's doing so much, because the fact is, people, we've been hearing for an entire year, there's a back and forth between in terms of what is happening in the city council. Whether it's external or internal, there is always something happening there that is at times unpleasant. So I thought it fit to highlight what a councillor has been doing. I'm not saying that he's the only councillor working, but what one who has been doing and positively contributing not only to our city, but to our nation. And of course, I'm going to let him talk about some of those achievements himself. It is my pleasure to welcome, as I said, for the first time to our program, Mr. Malcolm Ferreira. He is the councillor representing Constituency 10. He will also remind you what are the areas in Constituency 10. Malcolm, welcome to Facing the Nation.
Thank you very much, Malika. This is a great moment for me. The reason being, I've seen so many things happen in this studio. And this is actually the first time I've ever been here. I've never come through the doors before, no. Okay.
Well, listen, we're going to say today is your second birthday. And it's early in the year, but we're going to call this your second birthday.
So it's great being here.
Okay.
And I do follow. I won't say I listen or look at every show that you do, but I've been listening this and as well as the West Side show.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, and you've been doing an excellent job.
Thank you so much, Malcolm.
You see, sometimes when we're in positions of comfort, our goodness and our abilities show through. But you've been doing this before being comfortable. You've been doing this before being in a place where you get to call the minister easily to answer any question that you would ask. So, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
For all the years of work.
Why are you trying to make me turn on a pipe in my eyes?
No,
but thanks, I appreciate it.
You were bombarded with calls and persons that sometimes even at home looking, sometimes the hope from the program is what what comes across in that. You know, people say this could never happen, not in our lifetime. It's not going to happen
yes,
now.
Indeed.
And go look back at some of your old shows and look at.
I should.
And look at what you guys were speaking about. So you get an opportunity now to put them into.
Exactly.
Not to say you're not doing anything, right? But you spoke
understand.
about so many things that you could actually.
I understand
use
where you're coming from.
Right
Yes.
now.
Thank you so much for that, Malcolm. And I always remind people that. And I even like it now when we feel as though we've achieved so much. We still have miles and leaps and bounds to go. There mistakes will be made. Mistakes were made. Mistakes are being made, and mistakes will be made. And I am grateful when people point out. I always say it's not necessarily what you do, but how you do it. But of course, we're not here to talk about that today. But thank you so much for that, Malcolm. Constituency 10. You came and you busted out. You just came. And I must admit, at first I was. Malcolm Ferreira, I didn't know he had political aspirations and so on. But even before we talk about your work, just so, because we're still in a learning phase in our country, especially when it comes to local government in the city, for people who are still not yet sure, what are the areas that make up Constituency 10?
Constituency 10 is all boys down Charlestown.
Okay.
All boys down, we go all the way down to the Demerara River.
Okay.
And it extends up to Calinda Street. Charlestown comes from Princess onto Princess Street onto the Demerara River as well. And it comes across onto St. Stephen Street all the way down to the Independence Boulevard. That's the boundary basically to the 6 gym, which is Calinda Street for Constituency 10. But before I go into anything, I must say thanks to someone. As a newcomer, when you get into politics, not many persons offer you good advice.
Sure.
Sometimes you have to listen and ask. And after we were elected as councillors, someone came and reached out to me from across the political divide. It was Councillor Heston Boswick, who is an APNU councillor, APNU+AFC councillor. And he said, no, we could work together. And I said, okay. And we've been working. And apart from all the little that we've been able to do, I believe, one of the greatest achievements. Because I clearly heard the president implored and actually commanded APNU+AFC representatives to reach out across the board and work with everyone. So, Councillor Bostwick, thanks very much. We've been working. And those are just a few of the things that we've been able to achieve without a budget.
Okay, without a big budget, so to speak. All right. Before we even get into works in the community, because again, viewers, for those of you who don't follow him on social media, you should see this list of things that he would have achieved. And you see, he's saying that's not all. And I'm telling you, it's very, very, very impressive. What or who said to Mal, and I mean this is aside from Mr. Bostwick and so on, what encouraged you or what inspired you that maybe you should throw your hat in the race? What called you to it?
As a broadcaster, even before, every job I've done, Malika, has been in service to people. I got the opportunity at 19 years old to be a supervisor in charge of over 400 people, almost the youngest person there. So there was always this people aspect. I was lucky, and I say this with no apologies, to be given the opportunity through Forbes Burnham's vision of a school to get an education at President's College. So growing in the ghetto, going away for the week, coming back some weekends, it gave me a different perspective because my friends at home spoke differently from my friends at school. So I had to learn to manage both sides. So growing up, you realize, not into politics, but politics affects me and it's going to affect my children and grandchildren. So I just realized that I should be there because I believe I can make a difference. I can contribute. I have the willingness to work with people and alone as well when the need arises. So I decided I may not be able to live with myself if I see who won and I didn't challenge. Not to saying the person who would have or could have would not have been good for the community.
Right.
But I may not be able to live with myself to see that does anybody just walk up off the street and just win
go there,
this.
right? You present the challenge, even if you in that case you are the challenger.
I had to, and my cousin and I, Gregory Garrett, we were discussing it, and then we brought some others on board, and we decided to go as independents. And I must say thanks to the president in particular for bringing back local government elections.
Okay.
You understand? This is where most of the parliamentarians from back in the days got to start a feel of parliamentary procedures and to govern and to serve mainly. Thanks very much for that aspect. I know we haven't grasped the concept fully, and there are many shortcomings, but to have that election, and I guarantee that when it's constitutionally due, he may be cutting out a couple of months from us, the president, according to what he told us at council, but to have the will to do it after you said you're going to do it, yeah, I'm very thankful. Right,
and given so many, including yourself and so many other young people, a voice and an opportunity to get involved. And in saying that, does Malcolm Ferreira see himself as, for want of a better word, becoming more politically on a higher level, at a higher scale? Is it something that you would go?
Aspirations.
You have presidential aspirations. And let me congratulate you for that, because the reason I'm doing it, apart from you, there is only one other person. I'm not going to call his name on camera, but he knows himself. There's only one other person who would look at me and say to me in my face, Malika, you know what the ultimate goal is for me, presidential aspirations. So I must say congratulations to you for admitting it, because some people pretend, I don't really want it. I don't really want a presidential chair, but it's good that you can sit here and say, well, you have presidential aspirations.
Why should I say no when that's the fact? That was my dream as a youngster, to be the president of Guyana. I then went and said, no, maybe a gynecologist, then president.
And you switched.
Switched out from that. I didn't go where it was supposed to go. Ended up in a totally different field, into broadcast. Here I am again. I believe I can offer, in collaboration with like-minded persons who are thinking about cohesion and unity in this country, we can collaborate and offer in tandem with major parties or on our own solutions to problems that affect Guyanese every day. Simple solutions. We don't always have to argue. I see myself as an opposition on the council, but I don't have to oppose everything. Just I got some views on some things, but I don't really want to.
No, I know,
really
Malcolm,
wanna
I
say
know
them,
your
man.
views can go over the top.
You
So
know,
it's okay.
so-
I'm impressed that you're containing
politics,
yourself.
it's the politics,
I know it's
you
the
know,
politics. It's in all of us. So I understand your fight to hold some of
The
it back.
fight to reach out to someone who's of a different political persuasion becomes harder, or the ability becomes harder when you have persons that are within a group that are fighting amongst themselves.
Ah.
I'm trying to reach out to you, and you're fighting yourself. Should I continue reaching out to you? What is the
Perfectly
message you're
said.
sending?
I am so happy that you said this on this program, and I really can't wait to upload this. I am really happy that you said that. You know, you
I
already
could call names, you know.
and I don't
beat
want
around
you
the
to
bush,
do that.
but I don't
And
speak
you-
about people when they're not present to defend whatever
Exactly,
you may
and
say against
your
them.
point is right. It is already bad enough that the fight with an opposition, a recognized opposition, becomes bitter and it becomes nasty, and then you, on the other hand, you are fighting with what is supposed to be your support base and so on. So I'm really happy that you raised that.
Pardon. Sometimes I ask Councillor Boswick, I say, you might get in problems for working with me, man. He said, no. The boss said, this has to be done, so it's okay. And I respect him for that, because I know the old-time petty politics that Guyana had, that we're trying to move away from. Is very, very difficult if everyone on board is not preaching the same thing. That type of politic told us that we could be friends for 364 days multiplied by 5. But that one day for that 5th-year election, we're supposed to be enemies. I've worked places in Guyana, Malika, on election day. My friend, who's a different ethnicity, made me feel as though I'm an enemy.
It happens.
I don't really want to
I've
continue
experienced
this
it
country.
happens, even that,
It's
because
good for us.
I want to talk about some of the physical things that you would have achieved for Constituency 10. But Eve, I'm about to lose this thought. Okay, let's talk about Constituency 10. Even before we talk about some of the other things listed in terms, and I know you've done a lot of work with youth, but I want to talk about the physical, because people, you get up every day. If it rains and your community is flooded, if there's a street light not working, there's a big hole in the road in front of your... These are the things you see, these are the things you identify with, these are the things that affect you immediately. So I'd like to talk about what you and the team and all the people who've been supporting you would have been able to achieve thus far in terms of physical transformation of areas in communities in Constituency 10.
That's the big challenge.
Okay.
For physical transformation, we're just about getting ready to lay out our first phase for the Pontrench Dam, which is the Independence Boulevard, to be converted into a modern play area for children and recreational facilities as well. So we're just about to start that. We've started a little bit of work in the belly area, just clearing away the transformer and putting sand and leaving it a little. For physical transformation and the infrastructure, that's where, as a councillor, one of the weak parts, I think, of the local government structure is where each constituency, I know council has budgeted a sum of $5 million per constituency, where you're allowed to do small projects within as a councillor, in collaboration with the people of the constituency. What is needed actually, Malika, is that, let's take Georgetown. We have 15 constituencies. If the councillors, the constituency councillors, have access to funds that they can actually develop to a certain extent their constituency in a short space of time, that means the entire Georgetown could be developed together. Because if I'm working in 10s, 11 is working, 12 is working.
Yeah.
This supplements the role that government has to play. Now, let's say, as an example, the Public Infrastructure Ministry has been doing something that I find great, in that not giving out contracts only to fix roads, that they have a team that is going around actually fixing roads. And they're doing work. You're seeing it in
Yes, you're
Georgetown.
seeing it.
Flood just happened short while, but then the vehicles go underwater and the holes get larger. That is needed right now. How do we put a system in place that after such happens, we can have? How does Constituency 10, which is the lowest point in Georgetown or Boystown, that drains other places and then that is drained? That should be a priority, to get the Sussex Street Canal revetted and dug to the right gradient and the level, because you're using gravitational flow to drain. The bridges, there are 3 bridges that are the old clay brick structures that they lie, even with the low water now, they're still blocking the water, so they need to be built differently. And then the clearing and the silting of the alleys and the drains, that would help now. If we can do this in each constituency with support from central government in terms of having you present what you'd like to do up to 50, 60, 70 million dollars with good accountability and everything. This is not to go to us. We could get stuff done in each constituency that would improve the overall work that is being done in the city. I look at it like this. We recently asked or suggested $600 million for the city council.
Okay,
for City Hall. It wasn't forthcoming, or it hasn't been as yet, right? Sometimes I look at it and I say, if I should make a comparison, that within 18 months of governing, you've given $32 billion to Gaisuku. Right? When you took over, we realized the state the city was in, messy, trashy. We weren't in office at that time, but the city did expend resources to
clean and fix.
I believe asking central government for help and giving a proper program and structure to what you like to use
to do with it. Yes, again, accountability, as you did say.
Shouldn't be so difficult. It shouldn't be so difficult. I get that the government understands what they took over and what will be needed to put it to where it should be, and it's a long road. We know that. But a little bit more of help in that manner would really...
Would go a far way.
Could go a real far way. Remember, we're not here to see each other fail, because
some people forget that. And on that note, they talk about not being here to see each other fail. The thought came back to me, what I lost earlier. We were talking about the fighting.
The infighting.
Infighting, quote unquote infighting, because some people like to get technical and say, oh, it's not infighting if you're giving your own opinion. But I have a different view. But let's talk about social media. Do you believe, Malcolm, and I'm asking you this because you're young, you're hyped, you're popular, and you're also a part of social media. Do you believe that social media adds to that burden, not only when it comes to infighting, but people saying things generally that it is not necessarily ethical for you to say it in public? Do you believe that the age of social media is an additional burden?
No.
Okay.
When you follow it up, it becomes.
When you don't use it wisely.
No phone posts a Facebook message that disrespects the same party you're in. You do that. Your phone don't do it for you. What you find happening is that some people tend to believe the 50 likes and 100 likes on Facebook is anything in the street.
Reality.
Bring them in the streets and then they're going to know how you really stand with the people. So you just pick up this and you post. I'm very careful when I'm posting on social media because I came from doing kerfufflements and all these explicitly creative shows, right? So like when I started the politics, I start pulling yourself in order. Get yourself in order.
Become confined.
Let me be fair. Allow me not to criticize unless I can offer a solution. I've seen criticism flying left, right, and center on everything. And
what is your solution?
What is your 2 cents that is going to correct the situation? None of that is forthcoming. So before I try to figure out someone, I try to figure out what are their ambitions and the ulterior motives. And as long as I can see it, and it's just talks, I dismiss you.
You dismiss.
I don't even follow you up. My name can give I could give a good cuss out too, right?
No, we know that.
I know that.
Yes. Like I said, you're no stranger to the public.
But it's not necessary. It's not necessary. I mean, as an independent, it should be joy for me to see infighting amongst major political parties. But when you have an eye,
and when you
understand your history,
and when you become political, when you choose to put your foot in that, or your feet, I should say, in that, you are no longer an independent.
I believe APNU+AFC has been quite open and appreciative and allowing for certain behavior that. Politics is really changing.
Right, that would never have been.
These things can happen.
Malcolm, you have to come back on this program. You have to come back, even though our time is going. I really want to talk to you before you go. I want to talk about your just so the viewers can your contribution in terms of the youth, because there is here about, you talked about the children's play area, the crack community youth group. Most of the things that I'm seeing, then their youth leaders took part in 2 university studies for students. There's so much that you have done that are direct links to youth. Let's talk about youth and child. Not only reason why, but the challenges that you feel are facing youth, and how can they overcome? Because even though you're doing all of this, our youth is still in trouble, and this is exactly this is nothing for the amount of youths that we have to bring into the fold. Your interest in youth, how do we go forward?
I came
and so
from a single parent home. My mom struggled in Albistown, so she did a great job. My role models were thieves, prostitutes, pickpocket, murderman, men that I would line with on the road as a youngster were wanted dead, or preferably dead by the police. I can tell Orwin and Spice and all these guys. You would see them as youngsters. They would send you in the shop. You'd want to line there, not knowing that if the police pull up, it's gunshot immediately. So coming from that, I realized that sometimes all we need is help and support and a little guide and someone to say, you know what, not even a role model, someone that you can look at to say, if that person can get it done, I could get it done. So we didn't have a budget as a constituency, so the easiest thing to do was to focus on the children and try to help them. And they have the money to go clean the drains or to get more street lights up and running, but these are things that, with the support of the kind public and the insistence of Councillor Boswick, that we can get it done. He actually came and told me about the camp. Let's get started. I said, how do we feed hundreds of children? I broke, right? I said, now you use government right now, right? He said, no, when you start these things, people come on board. And we started. So,
do you get a sense that, for example, the parents, especially who really and truly they're trying, but they really can't afford certain things, simple things like sending them to school and so on. Do you get the sense that these parents have appreciation for what is being done? Have an appreciation?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And even if they do, they will. If they don't, they will.
They will.
They will. Because those children are wonderful. When you walk, Uncle Malcolm, this everything
they're
they
respectful
tell you,
and so on.
Everything. So we've been able to bring them together. Because what you find happening, if you're a minister and you have so many responsibilities, you have to have your foot soldiers in the streets that tell you exactly what's happening.
And will be honest with you.
What I found happening in my community, one of them, which is Albistown, is that children from James Street interacting to children from Sussex Street. If you live in on Bar Street, you can't come over to Star Street.
So the war basically
the
starts
tribalism was thing. So I took all the bad boys from that side
and you mix them.
You bring them together.
And how's that working? First
was sparks, but now the sparks only fly for persons who may try to come against them because they've become great friends. There's a youngster by the name of Gregory, I must call his name. This is one of the worst behaved child. You wouldn't want him around. The parents told me, you do what you want. We technically give up. I tried coaxing everything, and one moment I embarrassed him. I do apologize. I embarrassed him when we took 350 children to the Water World. 6 of us only, right? To end one of the camps, and I sent him, get up, stay away. Don't come. Stand at the gate. We swam everything. He didn't get anything, sent his food. He felt totally left out. After that, he came and he said, Mr. Malcolm, I'm sorry. I now understand what you're doing.
It worked.
And that child right now is one of the most, if not the most, dependable youth leader from the Ambitious Future Leaders Club. He does everything. You don't have to tell him. He gets the young ones. He will take over. He usually takes over the 2, 3, 4-year-olds. That's he does on to them. And that one child has made me realize that we're doing something. And of the 400 that we have registered, one has shown improvement. So
I'm happy that you talked about that, especially what you said in the beginning of it, when you talked about the tribalism and so on. Because sometimes many of us, myself included, sometimes we live in a bubble. We know there are big problems with our youths and our young people. We know the everyday thing. But when you talk about the fact that there's tribalism from such a tender age, it brings us down a bit to reality and help us to understand that the problems that we think are there, they're actually greater than that. So I'm happy that you revealed that.
Hear this. In the ghetto Albistown, a child would tell another, you from the bourgeois part of Albistown? No, come on.
It's
because from Hunter Street going west is termed the bourgeois side, and from Hunter Street going east is termed the ghetto side of Albistown. I couldn't understand it. We grew up with the same thing, but I just couldn't understand it. So that's what we're trying to do. Get the children together so that they can understand. You're more likely to not fight. You're more likely to... Look, we had camp. A parent turned up with a 15-year-old girl to fight a 14-year-old who took away her daughter's man. at our camp. Well, of course, I call the police. Make them jokes. You understand? So these are some of the issues that we face in the community. You understand? Youngsters, they need jobs, but they say they need money. So you have to get them to understand it, right? So you find a young girl could be influenced for $80, $60. This is serious. A minibus drop. A $140 small drink could have a 14-year-old being exposed to unprotected sex. You understand? For a food, a young lady could be tempted to go out and have sex. Where I'm from, Constituency and Boys. These are the challenges, and they are real. We understand them. That's why we need the support of others out there. We need support from central government. In 2015 May, there was no option for me to vote for myself, but I voted. Get me?
Got you.
God,
Got you loud and clear. Malcolm Ferreira, our time has come and gone.
We'll even talk about it.
No, we talked about a lot. This has been refreshing. And viewers, for those of you who are now tuning in again, you missed another great conversation. Very informative one. It talks like these, I feel really good about them because, again, it reminds us where we are, what we are, who we are, and the reality of the situation. And some of us who live in a bubble, it puts our feet back on the ground.
Thank you very much. And mind you, I think the president is a man of integrity. But I believe the president has to micromanage sometimes.
Sometimes. You believe in the micromanaging?
No, I don't believe in micromanaging.
But he needs to micromanage sometimes.
I put it over this way. After you would have exchanged from what we were going through, then a firm hand is needed to uproot the tentacles of division and disunity and disruption and corruption that are embedded deeply in this society. I gotta get somebody who will chop off the monster head.
Okay, all right, Malcolm, we definitely have to go. This is what you get when you bring Malcolm for our viewers. Thank you so very much for tuning in. If you missed this conversation and the earlier one with Minister Ali, please, those of you who follow me on social media, the program will be uploaded to YouTube either later this evening or sometime tomorrow. Thanks again once again to Minister Ali, and thank you very much to Councillor Malcolm Ferreira. I am Malika Ramsey. Tune in next week. One of the persons I'll be having next week is the UG Vice Chancellor, Professor Ivelaw Griffith, and we'll be talking about all of what he's been able to achieve thus far and what to expect. Again, this has been Facing the Nation. I'm Malika Ramsey. Do join us again next time.